Hello and welcome to an ESI Technologies training video. Today what we're going to look at is the 8580 butterfly control valve with a 1052 actuator. What we're going to do today is we're going to change the fail mode on the valve. This particular valve, fail mode open, we're going to change it to fail mode closed. Before we start, just like for you to pay particular attention to download the instruction manual and follow the instructions on this. I just use the video as a guide. Inside you'll find on some of the writing, you'll see bold lettering and some black highlighted. These are the cautions and the safety instructions. I would advise you to follow these before you do any work. Only people with the appropriate skill set level or a qualification should actually tackle this job. Right, so to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to power up the valve and we're going to move the disc to find which way the valve is turning from the back of the actuator. Is it turning clockwise or anti-clockwise? So we can see there the valve is turning clockwise from the back. So what I've done is I've gotten a felt tip marker and I've marked the direction of rotation clockwise on the back of the actuator here. Our next job is turn off our air in our power supply, and we remove the bolts, not on the valve side but on the actuator side. There's 4 bolts here. We loosen those and remove them. Okay, we've removed the bolts from the flange. Our next operation now is on the back of the actuator to remove the indicators. So I'm just going to move the valve around now to face the camera just to give you a better view. Okay, our next thing to do is to remove these indicators here. One shows where the valve is open or closed and the other one shows the rotation. You see up here where I put my mark to show that the valve is turning in a clockwise direction to close. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to remove these. Okay, we've removed the indicators here from the back of the actuator. So just to talk about the actuator for a little bit first, just to give a bit of understanding. The actuator is push down only, regardless of what way you set up your valve. The actuator only goes push down. So it's either push down to close or push down to open. As you can see, the actuator itself is slightly offline, so the rod coming down here comes down onto a link that connects here, that's clamped onto the splines on the shaft. So in this orientation, pushing down here turns the valve clockwise. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove the valve here from this side. We're going to close it, which is our fail position, and we're going to put it in here, so that the valve goes in an anti-clockwise direction from the back of the actuator. Okay, so I'm going to say that now again. We're going to take out the valve here, we're going to close the disc, which is our fail close position, and we're going to put it in the back here, right? So that when we look at it from the opposite side, it's going anti-clockwise. Because we closed our valve clockwise, we need it to go anti-clockwise to open. So while the push down is the same, it's going over to the other side of the shaft. So it's going anti-clockwise. Okay, this is a diagram on the instruction manual on page 19. And if you can see the drawing here, you'll see the setup on the actuator where it's off center of the actual valve and it's pushing down. So if you look at these here, it'll tell you whether it's push down closed or push down open and where the valve needs to be orientated. There's a whole different number of different orientations that you can get to suit your valve, whether you want it in line with the pipe, whether you want it horizontal or vertical, or there's various different modes. You can check this out on the manual if it's something that you need. Taking our valve out, the next thing to do is to close our valve, get it into our fail position, and remembering to turn the valve clockwise. Okay, you might have to give it a bit of help. Just loosen out the pliers just to hoist it into the seat. There we go. Okay. Now, if you take a look at the top of the valve on the shaft, there's a line here, a vertical line. That's in line with the disc here, so that you can see the position, and it has to be exactly vertical or parallel with the valve body. If it's slightly to the left or the right, then you've missed the tool here. You need to take it out and redo it again. So now that we've done that, lift it up, move it around, and then we put it in on the other side. Now we can return our holes back into the flange here. I'll just do that here now. Okay, we've tightened up our bolts. I've checked our horizontal line on the end of the shaft to make sure it's in line with the center line of the valve. Everything's okay. Our valve is fully closed. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to swing this around a bit, let you see what we're doing at the back, so we can put back on our indicators on the back. Cool. Now we just put back on our indicator showing valve open here and valve closed. As the valve is closed, put this in the top. We put back on our screw. Okay, so we put back our indicator plates here. We put the red part, which is the valve closed, and the arrow facing to the valve closed on the vertical, because the valve is actually closed and it's on the vertical. So now, as we need to open it, it was clockwise to close it, so we need to go anti-clockwise to open it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to power up the valve and we're going to check the movement to make sure that it's correct, nice and slowly, because if it's not going in the right direction, it will cause damage. Okay, we have our air on and we have our loop generator, and we're just driving the valve very slowly to make sure that we get an anti-clockwise movement here for opening the valve. There we go, just moving anti-clockwise, and the valve is opening correctly. Can you see the valve opening now? Okay, that's great. Alright, so what we'll do now is, to conclude, we'll do a calibration on the DVC 2000 positioner. So I'll just go through that with you. Go. Okay, we're all powered up and ready to go. We have our loop generator connected up and powered up, and we have our air supply going in. This is the LED display of the DVC 2000 positioner. What you can see here is the 4 to 20 milliamp input, and you can see a 1.3 bar pressure, and it says 74, so obviously the valve is way off. It's showing 74, it should be showing 25. We're going to correct that in a minute. So for the calibration, we just press the down button once and you see quick setup on the screen. If you press this, it says valve will move, hold for 3 seconds. So if you hold this until that arrow disappears, you will have started the calibration process. There's nothing else to do. It's a smart positioner, it'll do it all itself. It'll go from 0 to 100%, back to 50%. It'll self-tune, go to 0 and tell you calibration is completed. Okay, our calibration has complete. You can see it up here on the screen, so we'll just go back to our main screen. Now, because we've changed the fail mode on the valve, we need to tell the positioner exactly where the valve is in relation to the 4 to 20 milliamp signal. So if we scroll down the bottom one till we go to detail setup, and we enter detail setup, and it says 0 power condition, valve is open. Well, that's changed now, it's actually closed. So what we do is we change that to close and we press enter. That's okay, we don't need to change that, and we don't need to change that. Low and high is still the same, it's a different place. And we keep going through until we're all finished, and then it says press and hold for 3 seconds to save the information. And here we are. Now at 8 milliamps, we're 25% open and 1.3 bar input. So our display is now reading correctly. If you remember, before we did this, it was saying 75%. So that's it. calibration complete. We can jump down another 50% there to show. Should be 50%. 50.3, yeah, that's good, and it's 12 milliamps. So that's it, our job is complete. Thank you for watching this video. If you require any more information, my details are on the left hand side of the screen. Thank you.